The year was 1962. The Cold War gripped the world. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a dangerous standoff. Nuclear war felt like a real threat. In this climate of fear, the U.S. military devised a shocking plan. Operation Northwoods. This operation was meant to be top secret. It aimed to manufacture a reason for war with Cuba. Cuba, under Fidel Castro's rule, had become a communist state. This was a major concern for the U.S. They saw it as a threat right on their doorstep. Operation Northwoods was the answer, some believed. It was a way to deal with Castro and stop the spread of communism. The plan was audacious. It involved staging attacks on American soil. These attacks would be blamed on Cuba. This would give the U.S. justification for a full-scale invasion. The details of Operation Northwoods were chilling. The plan suggested sinking American ships. It proposed shooting down U.S. aircraft. It even called for acts of terrorism against American citizens. All of this would be carefully disguised to look like Cuban aggression. The goal was to sway public opinion. The American people would be outraged. They would demand action against Cuba. At least, that was the hope of the plan's creators. The fact that such a plan even existed is deeply unsettling. It shows how far some were willing to go during the Cold War. The potential for loss of life, both American and Cuban, was immense. It's a dark chapter in American history. It raises serious questions about the use of deception and manipulation in international relations. The term false flag might sound like something from a spy novel, but the reality behind it is far more sinister. A false flag operation is a covert operation. It's designed to deceive. The goal is to make it look like someone else is responsible for an act of war or terrorism. In the case of Operation Northwoods, the U.S. military planned to wave this false flag high. The tactics proposed were shocking in their audacity. One idea involved sinking a U.S. Navy ship in Guantanamo Bay. This would be blamed on Cuban forces. Another plan called for creating a fake Cuban plane. This plane would then attack a real U.S. aircraft. The wreckage, strategically planted with Cuban markings, would be discovered. The American public would be none the wiser. Perhaps the most disturbing proposals involved harming American citizens. One plan suggested staging a terrorist attack in Miami. Another called for simulating attacks on Cuban refugees fleeing to the U.S. These acts would be designed to incite fear and anger. The aim was to turn public opinion firmly against Castro. The use of false flag operations is a clear violation of international law. It is a blatant act of deception. It undermines the trust that is essential for peaceful relations between nations. The fact that the U.S. military considered such tactics is a stain on their history. For years, Operation Northwoods remained a closely guarded secret. The documents detailing the plan were classified. They were hidden away from the public eye. But in 1997, the truth began to emerge. A researcher named John Pike, working for the National Security Archive, filed a Freedom of Information Act request. This request led to the declassification of a trove of documents. Among them were the shocking details of Operation Northwoods. The release of these documents sent shockwaves through the U.S. The American public was stunned. Their own government had plotted to deceive them. They had planned to manufacture a war under false pretenses. The revelations sparked outrage and disbelief. People demanded answers. They wanted to know how such a plan could have been conceived. The documents themselves are damning. They outline the various plans for false flag operations. They include memos and letters between high-ranking military officials. In one memo, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military officers in the U.S., gave their unanimous approval to Operation Northwoods. These documents provide chilling evidence of the lengths to which some were willing to go to achieve their objectives. The declassification of Operation Northwoods was a victory for transparency. It showed the importance of freedom of information. It served as a stark reminder that even in democracies, secrets can hide dark truths. It forced the U.S. to confront a disturbing chapter in its history. The revelations about Operation Northwoods raised many questions. Why was such a plan even considered? Who was ultimately responsible? While the declassified documents provide some answers, they also leave many questions unanswered. Some argue that Operation Northwoods was simply a product of its time. The Cold War was a period of immense tension and paranoia. The threat of communism seemed very real. In this context, some argue, it's understandable that extreme measures were considered. However, this argument ignores the fact that Operation Northwoods violated fundamental ethical and legal principles. Others believe that Operation Northwoods was never seriously considered. They argue that it was merely a contingency plan, something to be used only as a last resort. However, the fact that the Joint Chiefs of Staff approved the plan suggests that it was more than just a theoretical exercise. The full truth about Operation Northwoods may never be known. Many documents from that era remain classified. Key figures involved in the operation have passed away. However, the declassified documents that we do have provide a chilling glimpse into a dark chapter in American history. They serve as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and skepticism, even when dealing with one's own government. The story of Operation Northwoods is a reminder that history is not always what it seems. It's a story of deception, manipulation, and the lengths to which some will go to achieve their aims. It's a story that should make us question everything we think we know about the past. It's a story that should make us think critically about the information we are given. Most importantly, it's a story that should make us fight for transparency and accountability from our leaders.